Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Ultra Catalyst podcast. You already know who I am. We're going to jump into today's episode. So we've got a special guest today. His name is Alan Decker. He's been a military veteran. He's been married for 23 years and is a father of three. He's also an entrepreneur, and he's now a big fitness buff, and he's getting ready to train for an exciting adventure that's coming up. I'll let him talk about it, but I don't want to spend too much time telling everybody about the Ultra Catalyst podcast. You guys could read the notes below or check out some of the other episodes. But Mr. Alan Decker, welcome, my friend. How are you today?
Great, sir. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be on your podcast and get to spend some time with you in your podcast talking about getting to know each other.
Excellent. Hey, well, the first thing that I want to do is just congratulate you, man. I've been following you for, I don't know, probably about 2 years now. I've seen your transformation. You're big into fitness now. I see you're tracking your stuff. I see the Murph shirt. So I know you're definitely putting in the work. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what got you to just like make that shift, right? I know you said, and even seeing some of the photos, you're like, I'm not really happy about where I am in life. I'm not happy how I look or how I feel. Can you kind of describe where your journey kind of started in that sense and kind of up to where you are today?
All right. So back in, I think it was 2021 or 22, uh, anyway, about a year or two ago, um, I was leading a youth group. I was the commanding officer of the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Command. You know, I, I have a business and I have people that work for me and I have kids. And, I looked in the mirror one day and I just looked at myself and I go, who is this person? This is not the same person. This is not, the chief from the Navy that's looking at myself. And so I wasn't happy with obviously my physical condition. I felt like my health was also getting a little worse. It was getting harder to do basic movements like, squatting or kneeling and getting back up. And then, also standing in front of people and especially these younger kids, these teenagers who, are looking at me as a leader. And I'm telling them, hey, you have a PRT, which is a physical readiness test, and you have to do X amount of push-ups, X amount of sit-ups, and this mile run within a certain amount of time. And I caught myself kind of, instead of being a participant and actively doing that, running with them like I should have been, like I know a chief would do, I wasn't. And I'm like, man, I can't do this. I can't like say one thing and do another. I can't lead by example. And I've always
Yeah.
felt that that's the biggest thing in life is I don't care what you say, but if people are watching you, and that's what really makes the impact for me is when you see somebody actually out there in the front doing the work and not just saying, hey, you need to do this, and they're not setting the example.
Oh,
So
I completely understand that, right? But we all have come across and maybe even been in those roles where I'll say we're more lecturers, right? Where we're just
exactly.
talking about the theory, not necessarily the application, and as you said, leading by example. But that's quite the transition. When you started to think about that, have you now started to lead that group and doing the runs, the push-ups, the jumping jacks, the burpees, etc.?
Yep. So yeah, they actually, one of my cadets who graduated, and he saw a picture of me with the unit and running. He's like, man, I'm proud of you, And I'm like, what do you mean you're proud of me? He goes, you're actually like, getting in shape and running and leading by example, like that you would talk about. And I go, yeah. And I felt bad and I apologized. Like, I'm sorry to you because I should have been doing that from the start and I didn't. And I wish somebody would have said, hey, and pulled me aside and said, hey, man, you're telling people to do this and you're not even participating. So, I appreciate that type of thing is when somebody goes, hey, man, you're doing okay in this, but this is where you're lacking. Because I think if work, it's easy to work on your strengths,
Yeah, yeah,
but when somebody, points out your weaknesses or you're like, oh, I'm not good at, public speaking. I'm not good at, physical fitness. Well, you got to start somewhere, right? So, and, so I really appreciate when people are, truthful and honest with me and actually point out my weaknesses. So not only can I elevate myself, but I can bring everybody else up.
Man, that's fantastic. I mean, like I said, I've been watching you and I've seen you gain traction. I can't say I could pinpoint any of your weaknesses per se, right? We're all going to have that roller coaster of life where we're going to have bad days. Things aren't going to happen. We're not going to make it into the gym. We lose a deal. A client doesn't show up. An issue happens with one of our family members, significant others, extended family. And we just have to roll through the punches, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any time, even during this journey that I've been through. I mean, as I'm tracking, you see the weight go like this sometimes, and then it goes down. And I know, and in yourself, you're like, okay, that's not because of muscle, it's because I'm off track.
Yeah.
And then you adjust. And I go to the gym, and not every day is going to be a perfect day. Sometimes I can go in there, I'm like, I'm going to crush it, and then I get in there and I'm like, oh my god. And then other days I'm like, this is going to suck. And next thing I know, I'm blowing it out of the water. I'm like, I don't understand, but that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. You said the weight going up and then down. I was talking to my brother just this morning, and over the weekend I had done a half Ironman in Chattanooga, and after the fact, right, I binged and cheat mealed and drank everything I could outside of alcoholic beverages, just because I was trying to recover, right? So my weight literally skyrocketed, and then this morning I wake up and my weight like literally torpedoed down to where like I was probably a few days before the Ironman. And weight's one of those things where we'll call it more like a lagging indicator, right? You got to do the work and then you measure to see where you're at, and it's going to fluctuate, right? There's
Right.
a lot of water retention, especially if you're consuming a lot of protein. If all of a sudden you spike your carbs or
Mhm.
you get a lot of different fats in you, and then it all depends on when you're eating, and then obviously all the other cycles that go along with it. But man, I tell you, it's I stopped looking at the scale because there was a little bit of time where I was just like, it's not going down, it's not going down, and then you kind of want to beat up on yourself for no reason. And that's when, like, personally, I had to snap out of it and said, no, I got to get back in the gym. It's not going to be the best day, but I'm going to be there. I'm going to make it a day, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, and just power forward, because the weight isn't my goal, right? The weight, like
Right.
you said before we started to talk, it's about longevity, spending the
Mhm.
time with the people that we care about the most, doing the things, right? That's how I view
Right.
my personal journey, and you articulated it very well right before we jumped on the podcast. So
Yeah. I think also a lot of people get so caught up in that scale number, and they don't, I mean, you really got to, you start educating yourself and you realize, okay, it's not the weight we're going for. It's a look, it's a composition.
yeah,
And, when you're going through that transition, your weight might, you don't think your weight's moving, but it's because you're developing muscles and it's taking place of that weight. And so, I'm not a big scale guy kind of number. I just like, and you can tell too by the way your clothes fit.
yeah.
I had some shirts I used to put on, and I used to be like, and now I put it on and they're like a drape, they're draping me now. So I think that's a better indicator than stepping on the scale is how your clothes are fitting. I was wearing like a size, I think 44 pair of pants when I first started. And
Yeah.
I probably needed bigger. I don't know, but now I'm down to like a 30. I'm wearing 34s, but they're loose, so I'm
Yeah.
probably like a 30, 32. So, those are better indicators to me than a scale, because even if you look at some of these professional athletes, they're like 5'8", 240 pounds, but they're shredded.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They're solid. It's funny you said the 44 size pants. At one time, I was 44 size pants, and I wasn't wearing a belt. it was more the elastic waistband, right?
Yeah,
Because it
exactly.
actually it expanded. I could have been 46, 48 at different times if it was tight, right? And then
Right.
contracts to like 40, right? I guess they were probably more like sweatpants at that time. But
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. I definitely feel you. I mean, I used to get clothes, and they have regular jeans, and then they have these ones with elastic bands that are more flexible. So, but yeah, definitely. Like I said, if you're on a weight loss journey or fitness journey, I call it now lifestyle. People are always like,
yeah,
"Are you on a diet?" I'm like, "No, I don't diet." They're like, "Yeah, but you're only eating this." I was like, "Yeah, because it's part of my plan to get where I want to be. It's not gonna. I can't stay at this number and it's gonna work because it's not sustainable. And so you got to make a sustainable lifestyle. And like when you're training for a marathon, I'm sure there's things that you consume and that you don't. And then when you're not, it's like a cycle. Then you start eating other things, and that's the same thing. For those that don't know, I'll be going to the National Physique Competition in July 29th in New
oh sweet,
Jersey.
oh
So I'll
awesome.
be competing first time. So I'll be in the Masters 50 plus. I can't believe I'm 50, but
Oh geez,
yeah. And that reminds me of another story. But anyway, so you know, and so anyway, that requires a different type of nutrition plan. There's you eat X amount of calories, and believe me, even though I'm at a lower calorie, I feel like I'm eating too much.
oh yeah.
And but it's funny how that works out, because I mean before I would have been like, there's no way I can live on this, but I'm like, oh, another meal.
I
So
hear you. I had hired a coach at the end of last year, specific to just nutrition and weights, because I go out, I do the running, the swimming, the biking, right, triathlons, and now I'm more into what we'll call ultra endurance activities like ultra marathons, anything greater than a marathon distance.
right.
And the thing that really tripped me up, it's not the endurance to go those distances. It's my body would physically break down because I don't have strong enough muscles, A. And then B, my weight was all over the place. And if I wasn't able to complete a race, or if I was just dying throughout the race, it was because I didn't know how to dial my nutrition in. And so
Right.
I hired a coach, Justin Tidd. You've probably seen him, connected with him as well.
Right.
And I worked through that plan for 12, 16 weeks, dropped 20 plus pounds of weight, dropped 20 plus pounds of fat, and gained about 20 plus pounds of muscle, right? So if you think about it, really, I probably dropped 40 pounds and then put the muscle back on, right?
Right.
By leaning out. And my performance got better. My times got better. The way I look, the way I feel, the way I interact, the energy I have, like everything just changed. And it was like, wow, I didn't realize like nutrition plays that key
Oh yeah.
importance, right? And then I start learning, right? Well, it's really 80%, right? The physical
Yeah.
fitness, yeah, that's time consuming, but that's not where you're gonna build the muscle. That's not where you're gonna build the abs, right? All of that stuff really
Right.
happens in the kitchen. And for me, that was a tough pill to swallow, right? Because I love these cheat foods. I love these carbs over here, and but you're right, man. Sometimes you're looking at we'll say it's the plan. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I could eat 6 meals today. That's just a lot of food, just a
Oh yeah.
lot of food. But then some days it's like,
Not
maybe I'm
enough.
just working so hard and it's not enough. And I do like how you said it's a lifestyle. It's not a diet plan, because I
Right.
look at it the same way, right? Like I'm shifting the way I'm eating for small durations of time to reach a goal. That's all it is, right? I'm not
Right.
I'm not being excessively strict. I just am limiting those things that contain way too much sugar or processed stuff. I mean, anything that you see in a box or in the dessert counter at a grocery store, those are awesome. They taste great,
Yeah.
but they're things that you can only have in little moderation if you want to have longevity in life, right? If
Right.
I spent a lot of time over there, which I did, I was up over 240, 250 pounds, even though I'm running marathons, doing Ironmans, right? My
Yeah.
weight is way up here, and I'm burning 4 to 10,000 calories when I'm doing these events. My weight didn't come down much, right?
Right.
It didn't come down much. And then I focus on nutrition. I'm doing those same things, and my pace is faster and my recovery is faster.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel hungover all the time, right? Like
Right.
eating the 5 brownies that I love to crave, right?
Right. I mean, they give you that quick boost of energy, but then you got to. I mean, I know for me, I crash after a
Yeah,
while. And but when you, like you said, when you're eating these other foods, like say blueberries that have sugar in them, and these other fruits and vegetables that have sugar already in them, that's more. I don't know the word for it, but it's not as complex as the sugars that you're going to get in, say a Twinkie, right?
yeah. The simple carbohydrate sugars, right?
Right.
And your body processes different, right? Because they're actually packed with all the essential vitamins
That's right.
and minerals and everything else
That your
from
body needs.
nature, yeah, that your body needs, that your body is composed of. Whereas in the stuff you're getting off the counter, we don't always know exactly what all these things are, right? It might say quote unquote organic,
Mm.
but if you look at the label, there's a lot of synthetic sounding things in there that are fillers that people put
Oh yeah.
in to make products cheaper, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. But
Right. They
yeah,
have a lot of preservatives in there because obviously it's a cost factor for them, and they gotta, it's gotta last longer on the shelf. So they
yeah,
add those preservatives, and those preservatives, contain sugars and other, factors that are not what your body needs.
yeah. It's all about, we'll say, optimal health, right? Because, like you said earlier, we got a goal in mind on this journey, right? We don't know when the journey will end, but there's a lot of people that are counting on us that we need to help out, but we gotta sustain long enough to be able to do it for as long as possible. And
Exactly.
like you said earlier, years ago, I wasn't in that position. I think I was torpedoing my life based on what I was consuming because I didn't have energy, I didn't have motivation, drive, and I definitely wasn't spending time with the people in my household, which I should have been, right? So
Exactly. Yeah, and that's very important, and that's one of the other reasons that I kind of started also on that journey was because of my family, and I'm like, okay, they might need me every day, but I know they still need me, and I still got a lot of stuff that I need to do and take care of, before I take that final step, and I was like, the longer I can delay that, or delay it enough so that I can at least leave them with a sustainable lifestyle and happy, you know, um, that's the ultimate goal, is to make sure that they're taken care of and they're good. And obviously, I spend time with them, but but yeah, before I and I'm sure a lot of us have been in that boat where it's easier just to come home and sit on the couch and you just want to relax because you think you had a rough day, and then you have your kids and wife or spouse or whoever who also might have had a rough day, but you're just like kind of drowned it out, or just kind of you hear them but you're not listening.
mhm.
And when you start taking all these things that are really not benefiting you, that's just killing your time that you could be using it for productive things, then yeah, it's an eye opener, and you're like, man, why was I wasting my time Netflixing for 2-3 hours a day, or sitting in front of a computer and for 3 hours a day, and all this other stuff that I needed to get done or could have gotten done, and then we come up with an excuse, oh, I don't have time. But when you really start looking at it, I even one time I took my phone just to see what the screen time was, and I'm like, holy cow, that's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I'm spending all this time, you know, on either doing like a social media thing or, browsing the internet or reading emails or whatever it might be. And so then you start going, okay, I got to schedule my time out. I got to plan my days and not just kind of go through life, just go with the flow type of deal, which I was doing for a while. And I'm like, man, I wasted so much time on so much other things that I could accomplish that got done. And I could have been further I could have been further today than I was before.
100%, man. I feel you. There's times I'll look at that screen time calculator, right? I have an iPhone, so you scroll to the bottom and you can see like the breakout for the day across the different categories or on the week. And if you think about it, right, you're going to sleep between, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours, right? So now what do you got? You got um, 16, 18 hours left in the day. When I was looking at mine and I'm like 4 hours every day, I'm like, okay, wait a second. Now I only got 12 hours. Okay, let's cut out like an hour or two for eating and then the
Right.
8, 9 hours of work. Oh, wait a second. I think I wasn't working in some areas because I was scrolling on my phone because some of them were not business related, right? And I was like,
Right.
wow, I'm really kind of shortchanging myself, right? And then I'm distracted and I'm thinking about all this information that is technically useless to what I'm doing today or where I need to go, right? And it's
Right.
just a big distraction. Um,
Yeah. And I also find that, what happens is a lot of times you're looking at other, say, people, you know, and you're so distracted in their life instead of focusing on you and where you could be. And I think a lot of people get wrapped up in that too, where they'll look at, you know, somebody and be like, oh, I'll never get there. Well, don't worry about that person. You worry about you. You need to beat yourself. Because I know for myself, my biggest hindrance or person that stops me in life is myself.
yeah,
And it's not my wife, it's not my kids, it's not work, it's me. It's that by taking your time and focusing on other places instead of focusing on you, and getting wrapped up in all the other distractions like Netflixing or summer vacations or whatever distracts your life, and focusing on you, because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. And
that's
so,
true. That's very true, man.
and so some people might think that's absorbing or self, uh, you're just thinking about yourself. So, but it's not. I mean, I can see somebody that's, now there are people that could be like that, but, for the most part, if you see a guy that's working out or whatever, they didn't just wind up that way. They put work in and they
Hmm.
focused on them. I know for myself, the first time going back to the gym, I'm like, oh man, look at this person, look at that person, and I'm just this fat person. And it's funny because once you start doing, people are watching, whether you know it or not. I mean, I don't know how many people have contacted me and said, man, what are you doing? So, once you start doing something, you might get laughed at, you might not be doing it right, you might look awkward, but that's
Yeah.
okay. You got to start somewhere. And the thing is they can laugh, but I guarantee you, once you start changing whatever it is, your lifestyle, your physical fitness habits, your financial lifestyle habits, they they were laughing at you. They were laughing at you before, but now they're like, "How'd you do that? What'd
Oh,
you do?
yeah.
What's the?" And they think it's some kind of magic. They think, well, what kind of pills are you taking? I'm not taking it. When I first even started, I mean, I was taking like the first form protein
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and some of the foundational stuff. But they were like, what kind of fat burners are you using? I'm like, I'm not using any fat burners. Like, I'm using water, walking. and just eating whole foods. And so I was like, um, and it's going to take time. There's
Yeah.
no shortcut to anything. There's no shortcut in fitness. You earn what you put in, and it's the same thing with life and business.
Yeah,
Not everybody starts out with 100 employees or this major corporation. It starts out with that one guy or one girl, and they go out there and they take that chance and that opportunity and change things around.
yeah. I look at it as every day is an opportunity to stack small wins, and some people get turned off on that, right? They're like, you're too selfish, right? You're putting too much
Mhm.
energy in you. You're too competitive. But what people don't realize is if you have a goal and you have a vision or you have dreams, the only way to get there is to start chipping away at it. And
Right.
that's called gaining ground, which is essentially just small successes, right? And
Mhm.
success is essentially just small wins or positive outcomes consistently over time. It doesn't mean they're all 100%, right? Like you
Mhm.
can't win every single day. I just I
No,
recorded a podcast a few weeks ago. I'm doing Andy's power list, right? So you know the power
right.
list,
The powerless,
um,
yeah.
where you take the 5 critical items that you want to move forward. They're not goals, right? They're tasks or deliverables, right? Well, I'm doing it for 1,000 days in a row, right? And so I just did a recap of completing 365 days, right? A full year of intentionally attempting to write the list and execute on it, right?
Right.
And at the end of a year, my percentage was 48.5% wins.
Nice.
So some people will think, wow, that's like an F in school, right? But people don't grasp the concept of I am now 48.5% closer to all of the goals I was focusing on, not just one thing, right? And that essentially equates to I am winning every other day at everything that I'm working towards.
Yeah, exactly.
That
I mean,
that
not
has a
every like
different gravity to it, right?
yeah, it does. I mean, just like you said, I mean, every day is not going to be a great day. You're not going to have a win, but even if you get one small win, because it's not just, in business, you might had a client, you thought, oh man, I got this, and then that fell through.
Yeah,
But yet you were able to say, you went to the gym that day. There's still a win.
a
So
hundred percent. Yeah.
even though you have losses in that day, you can still have wins.
Uh,
So
100%. There was a lot of days where I won 1 out of 5 items. Yeah, I still made progress in other areas. I just didn't hit the
right,
task I said I was going to hit on the day, but I still made progress towards it. Or I didn't do
right.
anything on it, right? There was many days where I didn't do crap, right? I was just like, I'm overwhelmed, right? Um,
Mhm.
but to go back on your thought you just had a minute ago, yeah, that comparing to other people of where they are in space and time and their own journey, that is dangerous, right? Because I looked at that
Yeah,
too for a while, like, hey, I'm as smart as this person, I'm as educated as this person. Why are they getting these results, right? It's
right,
because they're doing stuff slightly different for a longer period of time, and they just found something that is clicking, right?
right,
Well, what's working for them exactly will not work for you and me, right? It has to be tailored and massaged and polished to fit how you operate, right? Because
right.
you're not a
Well,
clone of someone else, right? You're a
right.
unique individual that operates on all different kinds of levels and everybody else, right? Like no
Exactly.
two people are exactly the same, right? The way they think, the way they look, their DNA, their blood type, whatever it is, right? Everybody
Yeah,
is slightly different. So you just have to find the different elements that work for you and then adjust to fit within how you operate, right? And sometimes that's scary because it requires us to change.
yeah, and I think part of that change is also, like who you surround yourself with.
Mhm.
Um, you know, um, and I for a while, I know back in the day, you want to be the best and the smartest in your group, and but then when you are, and you're like, okay, now what? You know, there's no challenge here. I'm just gonna basically flatline, stay the same. But when you have people that are, say in better shape than you, or where you want to be, where whatever that might be, physical fitness, business, whatever, those are the type of people you want to surround yourself with. And I know, I get to meet people or connect with people like you because of, Arte Syndicate.
Mhm.
And that's how I think we first
Yeah.
connected, was Arte. And there's so many amazing people out there, but we get so wrapped up in ourselves sometimes, like we block everybody else out, and we're not open to, criticism or critiques or being challenged, because people don't like to be challenged, because they like to stay in their comfort zone, because it's nice, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Change is
there's no
hard, man.
there's no stress and comfort. I mean, but there's also no change, and there's no opportunity. So
But I would
that's
add on top of what you just said is, I think what people don't acknowledge is when they are comfortable, sometimes their stress levels even higher because they know they could be in a bigger and better space in life.
yeah,
They don't have the courage or the know-how to get there, but they're still surrounded by all the different stress and they don't know how to get out of it because they're
yeah,
not, the pain of changing isn't great enough. It probably is. They just, whatever's on that other side of that road or that black hole, they're scared because they know that what they have today could materially change. Not by a lot, but just that little bit could be difficult, right?
yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I know I was kind of like that also, where I would or I'm more like that kind of a little bit today, where I'm like, man, this can't be the best I can do. I need to do better. I need to, and it does get a little overwhelming,
Yeah.
even with like the competition that I'm going with, sometimes I'm like, man, and you start having a little bit of self-doubt, and then I have to pull myself back a little bit, and I go, no, man, don't do that. You can do better. You can go further. And that's another thing I like about, like I said, surrounding myself with people that are, where I would like to be, or eventually, beyond. Because I mean, there's no limit, really. I mean,
Yeah.
the only limit you have is yourself. I mean, of
Yeah.
course, when it comes to physical fitness and stuff like that, there's genetics and stuff. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
overall, there's no limit.
And there's, the playing field is so wide, your just view of how wide it really is narrow, right? I mean, there's so many different avenues when it comes to fitness. If you're looking to make money, whether if it's in supplements, apparel, coaching,
Right.
technology, um, hormone therapy, like, I mean, the list goes on. Like I mean,
Uh,
it's pretty much endless. Now you just touched upon something. I want to dive into it because I'm kind of interested in it. My coach, Justin, he's competing today. Today's on Saturday, the 27th, in a bodybuilding competition or composition, I think it is. And you're interested in, you signed up. Tell me what that's like. When is it? Which aspect of it are you attempting to compete in, and what is your kind of training to look like to build that physique to be, how do you say, competition ready?
right. So the category I'm competing in is called men's physique.
Okay.
And so it's just, basically your muscular development, and how your different, like your triceps, your shoulders, your chest, your back, and how lean you are. You get that, what they call a V shape, V taper.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and so it's tough. I mean, between the nutrition and, losing the weight, because I'm definitely not where I want to be.
Hmm.
Um, and I think my ultimate goal is to get down to about, 6% body fat.
Okay.
Uh, and so, sometimes you look at yourself and you're like, how am I going to do this? And you look at the plan like, okay, I've been doing the same thing. And, you notice a change, but you don't see it, because of course,
Yeah.
you got all this extra, body fat and stuff that you stretch your body out a little bit, and it takes time for it to, pull itself back in. So, there's a lot of, like you said, 80% of it's nutrition.
Hmm.
Uh, and believe me, living with, 3 kids and a teacher, and, there's bags of candy everywhere, which is bad, you know, and then I know they're not going to watch this podcast, but sometimes I throw it in the trash, when they're not looking. But
Brother, I will tell you this: if I were to walk down to my kitchen table and take a photograph, there is snacks, cookies, candy bowls, a pantry full of awesome looking junk food, donuts, ho-hos, ding dongs, cupcakes, you name it. Uh, all different kinds of ice cream in the freezer. Um, and then there's actually a drawer that is all candy, like every kind of candy you could think about. I got 2 young kids, my wife, and I look at it and I'm just like, at times, and my wife already knows this, I will throw that stuff away. Not
yeah,
all of it, but just like systematically, I'm just, oh, let's get rid of that. Let's get rid
yeah,
of
this has
that.
been here for too
Get rid of
long. This
this.
is gotta go.
It's consuming space. It's encroaching on my protein powders and the nutrition that I'm having, right?
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we had these tray of cookies, and I love cookies.
Yeah, oh,
I
me
could
too.
I'll devour them anyway. So I'm standing there at the kitchen, I'm looking at them. My wife looks over, she's like, "You can't have any." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but I can at least look at them and smell them."
My kids and
So
my wife say the same thing to me. They're like, they'll see me sitting at the table and I'm eyeing it. I'm not even looking at it, right? But they're
yeah,
looking at it. And my daughter, she's hilarious. She'll reach across and she's like, "That's mine, Dad. You can't have any." And I was like,
yeah,
"Thank you,
yeah,
thank you."
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because now they might not be on the same plan or
Yeah,
path as you, but they know what your path is, and they're like, I'm not going to let them stumble and fall, and I'm so happy to at least have that, because I know there's people that don't even have that. They're like,
yeah.
oh, come on, man, come and have a couple of beers, or oh, it's okay if you eat one day of all junk food or whatever, but that
Uh,
support is definitely a key, especially, I'm sure with, the triathlons that you do, same thing in doing the fitness journey.
you know what? When I first started a few years ago, my family, my kids, they weren't really too supportive, right? They were like, "Why are you going outside, Dad? It's
Yeah.
90 degrees outside. The temperature sucks. Stay inside. Hey, let's go get pizza tonight." My wife making fun of me. "Why are you eating all that garbage?" Right? And I was like, but now they're like, they kind of at times help me stay on track. My kids will go, "Hey, Dad, it's Saturday morning. Are you going out for a run? You got to jump on the elliptical or the treadmill." And so like there's these little hints of, and I'll say this because you said it beautifully earlier when we first started. It's when you're leading by example, and everybody's watching you, right? Everybody's
All right.
observing you. And I see that in my household where they'll if they start to see me struggle, or if they start to see me about to go back to
Waiver.
that old self and waver, like you just said, there'll be a little pat or a little tap or a little comment like, "Hey, Dad, I don't think that's the best idea for you right now." And then at different times they'll be like, "Hey, Dad, we're going to jump on the treadmill." Okay, awesome. I'll watch you.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't
Yeah.
get hurt. And I, it does take a lot of time for anybody that's watching our podcast or listening to it on any of the podcast channels. that support in your house or through your friend circle is key, but just know it does take time to develop, right? Because anytime you go through any change, other people are seeing that, just like you said, they're going to be a little resistant to it because they like you who you are at that time and they see
Right.
where you're going, and that means they have to kind of change because you're going to change, so they have to adjust a little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, like you said, your family, it takes time for your
yeah,
family, your friends, and those that, don't, then they're really not there for you. There might be some jealousy or like doubt. They have their own self-doubt that they can't do what you're doing. Uh, and that's a big thing, is a lot of people get so wrapped up in being envious of others, and it's like, man, you could do it too.
yeah,
You just
yeah.
have to take that first step.
And it's
It
going to be
doesn't
hard. That's going to be
it
hard.
doesn't it doesn't mean, okay, stop eating all the junk food today and you got to just eat, you know, dry rice or whatever, for the rest of your life, or, you know, whatever that may be. Nobody's telling you have to go to the gym and start lifting 200 pounds or benching 200 pounds. If you just start with a simple walk, you
Yeah,
know,
that's how I
and it
started.
doesn't even, even if you can't do 45, 10 minutes, 15, 20, and just, slowly build up. It's all about that. You start you got to start somewhere, and you
Yeah,
start building, you start stacking on top of that, and start slowly pushing yourself. And I know even for myself, sometimes I'm like, I've been doing this weight and I'm like, this is kind of getting a little bit too easy now. And I'll add.
yeah, yeah. You just got to add incremental resistance or
Mhm.
stressors to it. Not too much, right? You don't want to
Right.
overload yourself because then, as we all know, if you push yourself too
Injury.
hard, you're going to be more stressed out. And then, especially in the first few weeks, right, or few days, hours,
Mhm.
it's super tough. Oh man, that sucked. I'm never doing that again, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
but if you have kind of that slower, staggered start, I mean, that's how I did it. Um, you just find a rhythm and then you start to enjoy it and then you look forward to it. And as you said earlier, it becomes a lifestyle. It's not just
Yeah.
a diet or going to the gym. It's you got goals and big things are going to happen once you start putting in the work.
Yeah. I mean, I like when I started, I said, I'll be happy if I lose 30 pounds,
Hmm.
and then I lost 30 pounds. I'm like, well, if I could lose 30 pounds, maybe I can lose, I can lose more.
Yeah.
And then it wound up over that first year, I lost 100 pounds.
Man, that's awesome. That is awesome.
So, I mean, it all starts small, like you said, the small wins, those small steps. Um, nobody got from point A to point A, 2 nights. That's actually been sustainable.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Very true. Well, my friend, I know you got a family event coming up in just a little bit. Where can people go to find you or connect with you? I know you got a tech company as well. You're into fitness. If people have questions, how can they reach out to you?
sure. If you have any questions, you can either reach out to me on Instagram at the_real_Decker, uh, or my company is Valhalla Technology.
Mhm.
So that's valhallatechnology.org. That's our website, where we also are on social media. Um, or you can email me if you'd like at a Decker at valhallatechnology.org, because I think I checked that more than more than most of my other emails because of all the spam. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love connecting with people. I've always been about helping others, and coming from the Navy, I'll go to certain areas that are, have naval installations, and I'll run into, I'm, these sailors that were like E1s back in the day, and now they're, chiefs or senior chiefs or officers, and they're like, hey, I remember you and you did this for me. And because of you, I'm doing this. And, I was only going to do 4 years and get out. But then after I ran into you, so, you know, seeing other people succeed, that for me, that outbeats any award, any monetary value. So I love connecting with people and helping them out. So please, if you like, just reach out to me and I'll definitely respond back.
Excellent, man. I know we're going to have more conversations in the coming months. I just want to wish you the best of luck in your upcoming competition. And thank you for coming on the Ultra Catalyst podcast today. It was awesome talking to you, kind of getting to know you a little bit more, but also seeing how your journey is kind of shaped in the last few years as you went from, man, I'm not leading this group based on what they need. And so you dived in, you made some changes, and the results are phenomenal. So keep pushing forward,
Thanks.
my brother.
Appreciate it. And I look forward to meeting you. And thank you for having me on the podcast. It's been an honor. And I definitely will be talking to you and hopefully others soon.
Excellent. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, everybody. If you got any questions, hit like below, subscribe, or send us a comment. Either Alan or I will get back to you. Love connecting with everybody. Thank you.